Greetings, hello, and hello, everybody. Today we're we're back with this series of me talking about random things for no reason, and today we are talking about oh, guns for whatever reason. Oh, I'm not even loud. Now, why am I talking about this? I don't know. I just decided because there's this I think I have a strange fascination with these tubes of death, as one uh, as one could call it. Now, how did these guns start exactly? Well, they didn't they didn't exactly start with like the trigger and the handlebar like thing. This is what they looked like. This is what supposedly the first firearm looked like. It was a piece of bamboo attached to a spear, and the they put the black powder in it and ignited it, and thus flames started coming out. I think it was mostly a biolog. What's it called? Psychological weapon, because yeah, this thing shoots fire. This It's known as the fire lance, but got these fire lances have been said to be like the start of like firearms. At least I think so. Well, gunpowder weapons as a whole, actually. Uh, Crafted by the Chinese during like the 10th century. Eventually, they would just there would come a point where like they would put the put a metal tube at the end of the stick, and then put uh, whatever that can fly in with the gunpowder, and they found out that the gunpowder was good at like propelling things forward as well. And thus the invention of the hand cannon. The the hand cannon spread throughout the Middle East due to like the Mongol invasion. Actually, the Mongols were the ones that had spread the knowledge of like the gunpowder weapons across Asia or something like that. And yeah, from the uh, from the hand cannons and the fire lances, the the weapons would continue to evolve. Oh, what did I do? To stuff that's more like this. Well, actually, not like this immediately. These hand cannons were like the thing that like mostly that was mostly used by like everybody. Then yeah, 14th century came the arquebuses. Then 15th century came the muskets, and 19th century and 20th century more and more, just brought even more stuff. Now, how do some of these guns work? Because they people know that not all guns work the same. So you notice how I typed this matchlock here. It is, as the name suggests, it's it. They put the gunpowder here, which is, and have this match attached, this thing attached, and the point is to like burn the thing, and when it burns up, the gunpowder ignites and it shoots the thing out. The thing is, however, is that this had a problem during like the this had the problem of like being ruined by like weather and stuff because the wind or rain would simply just put out the fire. So another alternative was made, known as the wheel lock. This is not it. This, yeah, this I could see why they don't use this often. When I read about this, they said that it was extremely intricate and confusing to make, and I could see how now. Not to mention that they needed a special key in order to turn the wheel again. So yeah, but the point of the wheel lock was to once you pull the trigger, the wheel spins and it ignites sparks, which ignites the gunpowder to explode the and propel the bullet forward. However, due to how complicated this wasn't really that used that much. So instead of replacing the matchlock, it coexisted with the matchlock, much like how the matchlock coexists with all the other stuff. Like the how like it coexists with everything else because the guns coexisted with everything else in the Middle Ages: crossbows, bows, and swords and spears and all that. But then there did come somewhat of a solution known as the Flintlock. Everybody knows of this, where it would have a piece of flint attached, and when you pulling back this thing, when you pull this trigger, it will send this thing lunging forward, yeah, into the steel pan and igniting the gunpowder inside. You know, before when I look at these firearms, I just wonder how did they work when this thing is at the side and not directly at the back. And getting a proper look at it, I now know. But flintlocks would go on to be rather unchallenged for a while until came the percussion lock. Yeah. So these guns, this cap here is what ignites the Well, actually, what propels the thing forward too. With these with these percussion cap guns or whatever, people people didn't have to take so long reloading their rifles as they would with either a matchlock uh, or a flintlock. And yeah, the percussion caps were of one use, but it saved everybody a ton of time. But then going into the 19th to 20th century, we've got breech loading rifles. We were given the breech loading guns. Now, the breech is the back part, like right here. So you would insert the bullet from the back end of the barrel rather than the front. You know, if you've seen any sort of historical movie, I suppose you would you, you would need to like pour do all these steps in order to load the weapon. But with a breech loader, well, when the breech loader came about, uh, bullet cartridges were made. So bullet cartridges are these little tiny are the are the things that hold the bullets in place. Well, not just hold it in place; it's the whole. It like the primer hits the thing here. This thing is what holds it in place inside the gun. It ignites the gunpowder in here. This part is what holds the bullet itself in place before launching it out. Now, breech loading rifles come in various forms, you know, like the double barrel shotgun or like, what's it called? What's it called? Um, or these kinds of rifles. What are they called? Yeah, bolt action. So these these rifles were the kinds of rifles that would dominate World War One and all that. However, some guns would just go on to simply load themselves. Yeah, these self-loading guns would be this assault rifles and whatnot, machine guns, pistols. Now, as I've mentioned before, the that firearms came about during the 10th century, and they coexisted with medieval weapons throughout the Middle Ages. Because you know they were just introduced; they don't replace everything immediately. It in fact actually took a long time. But there were problems with the guns, such as the fact that like with the matchlock, like I said, wind and rain just snuffs out the matches, and the wheellock is just too complicated. Not to mention that like the guns themselves, there were armor pieces that were like way too thick for the bullet itself to properly penetrate, and it was too hard to, and it was like it took too long to reload these things. So trying to have an entire army field these things with like another army just charging at them, they could only get like one volley off, and then all it takes is like 40 minutes for the enemy to close the distance. Not to mention that these guns were also really inaccurate because like before like I think the 19th century, rifling wasn't a thing. What is rifling? Someone could ask. It's this right here. Now, a spoon. Now, most guns during the Middle Ages and possibly throughout the 17th century too, 17th and 18th, yeah, were smooth bore. So it was, yeah, as this thing says here, smooth bore fires tumbling projectiles on an unstable course. But rifling, it adds these like grooves inside the barrel that allows the gun that when the bullet is exiting the barrel, it spins along with the grooves. So it becomes more accurate and it can actually go on like on a more stable course. But with all these problems with the firearms and everything, how did they come to replace um, crossbows and bows since they were so much faster at shooting? Well, like I said, while there were pieces of armor that are able to prevent bullets from that are strong enough to go up against bullets, not ev- guns are able to actually penetrate most armor. Guns were able to penetrate most armor. Not to mention that guns were never serving on their own. When there was a rifle, if there was a regiment of people with guns, they were always with a regiment of pikes, known as the pike and shot. Its tactics, it's the pike and shot, which the guns would fire volley after volley into the enemy, and if the enemy ever got too close, the pikes would take over and protect them. Not to mention that, you know, with more work being done into the guns, they were becoming more powerful, and they were easier to use and train with apparently, because to properly train a person with a bow would apparently take is apparently something that takes years to do. While for a gun, you can just give it to a random peasant. Random peasant, give him like 10 months of training, and yeah, They'll be pretty much ready to go. Since all you have to do is hold the gun up, shoot, and just hope that the bullet hits something. and of course, but the most powerful firearms that that mostly stuck around were the cannons. Not this one. These things that fire like these shells that explode on impact. Well, cannonballs didn't actually explode on impact, but if they were to land a direct hit onto your say torso, your limbs would come flying off. And then like came around the Gatling gun, then the machine gun. It those two the machine gun would just mow people down without giving them a second chance. And with so many bullets coming out of it all at once, there really was no chance. And it pretty much ended the whole need to machine guns along with artillery ended the whole charge over the open battlefield and try and attack the enemy that way. No. And with the introduction to bayonets, it pretty much the guns became reliant on the guns didn't need the pikes anymore since the guns can stabby on their own. If you don't know what a bayonet is, and I'm not talking about Bayonetta, it's the knife you attach to the end of the rifle. These were made, and like I said before this, the people using rifles needed to be protected by pikes. But when the bayonets were made, the pikes became no longer necessary. And apparently, these the rifles with the bayonets were very long. So yeah, it was practically. This is practically the closest we'll get to a functioning gun that turns into some sort of melee weapon, which is a spear. And as we know, after World War One, weapons just became the weapons, especially guns, became more more powerful and deadly. World War One introduced the first submachine gun. Yeah, this thing here. This is the first submachine gun, and like World War Two. Well, in the after people started expanding on it, such as the Thompson submachine gun, which I think is actually the second submachine gun that was to be made. This was actually supposed to serve in World War One. However, the war ended before it could enter production, so it ended up serving in World War Two instead, and it started getting replaced after. But then, you know, World War Two came about, and with it came a new kind of gun, the STG-44, which is the assault rifle, which combines the range of a rifle and the automatic rate of fire of a machine gun. And we've we've all seen like these assault rifles like everywhere. And some of you may notice a similarity. The AK-47 was based off the STG. The AK-47 based off the STG, and yeah, during World War One, we had put guns on everything, even planes, and now they've evolved. And now they evolved into, and now those guns on the planes evolved into this, which we put a whole plate around it. This big, giant Gatling gun, and someone put a plane around it. And these bullets, and look at this. These bullets are big. The guns to me are ultimately a very, very interesting weapon, and you know, sometimes I feel like they don't get used a lot. But then I remember there's I think but then I remember that both sci-fi and contemporary and a lot of contemporary movies exist. So I don't need to worry about it. Yeah. I think that's all I really have to talk about today. See y'all next time. Bye.